welcome to my channel. Welcome back to those of you who have watched one of my videos before, and if you are new here, hello, my name is Emmy. Today, as you can tell probably from the title, is going to be a New York City vlog from while I was there for work, as well as a bit of a Q&A answering your guys' questions that you have asked me either from YouTube or on Instagram. A lot of times it's a lot of the same questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer and do the Q&A at the beginning of this video so I can answer all of your guys' questions, and then please keep watching to see the vlog of a brief trip to New York for work. So the first question that I had was, can you make a video of how you got the job after graduating from school? So instead of making a whole separate video about this, I thought I would just answer it in this Q&A because it's not a super long story. Was a part of the College of Business, and so for me, I knew that I wanted to go into consulting from my sophomore year of college, and I got involved in different student organization groups, took different classes that were targeted towards analytical thinking, problem solving, and one honestly I think was eventually just turned into the Illinois Consulting Academy. From there, my junior year, I interned with a consulting company, and it's not the same one I ended up going full-time with once I graduated. But then my senior year, I only interviewed with consulting firms, and then I ended up picking one of the ones I got an offer at, and I went to go work there, and that is where I still work today. How many hours do I work per day or week? And if you have to work weekends as well, how do you manage that amount of work and still have the time for your friends and family? So this is actually a really good question. Per day, it really varies. I feel like there's some days where you can end pretty early. Like I've had days where I've ended at 4:30. It's not very common, or at least for me it hasn't been common. So I'll caveat everything with this is my experience in consulting. It's going to be different by your level, by the type of consulting, by the firm, and even if all of that is the same, depending on the project or the client you're at or the phase of the project you're in, it can change a lot too. So for me right now, I work about 45-ish hours a week, maybe around almost 50. And another question is also about like how much do I work a week. So I guess what I would, since a lot of people are asking this question, I would say it just depends. One of the projects I was on a while ago now, over a year ago, was so busy that I was working 7 days a week and working somewhere between probably 65 pushing 80 hours a week. It was a lot. It didn't go on for forever, but like it can happen. So it really just depends, and I don't have that right now, so that's good. But yeah. When you have meetings with clients, are your coworkers there or do you work solo? For the most part, I would say I work with my coworkers. When I first started out, because you're new, like, and you're young, or you're just straight up new, or maybe it's your first time in consulting, or just new to the way that a specific firm does certain things, I was never like really left alone. There was a point, I think it was about two and a half months into when I started working at this company, where like I was allowed to like run client meetings with like really important people, which was nice, but I was never alone. Once you've built up that like credibility and social capital with your team, and they know that say 2 meetings pop up and they're conflicting, people trust that you can go and run another meeting by yourself and do it well. So most of the time I'm with at least one other person, which is nice because, you know, if you don't catch something, maybe they'll catch it, or vice versa. And then also just different perspectives, because when you're going in to help solve these problems for clients, it's nice to have like diverse thought. Since you travel a lot for work, does the firm you work for pay or reimburse you? Another one. Do you have to pay for your own travel? I would like to travel, but pricing can be scary. Okay. So this one, I would say if it's related to a business expense. So for example, on Monday when I get up and I fly again, or as you'll see in the vlog, when I get up and I fly to New York for work and then I come back, that is paid for by the company. So like They will pay for the flight to get there, to come back. They'll pay for like where you're gonna stay. This is specific to my company again, and for what I know of most firms, I've never heard of someone who had to like pay for their own hotel for as a consultant when you're traveling for work for the client. That being said, I think that one thing that can get confusing is sometimes people will see that I alt travel on the weekends. So instead of going from wherever my client side is back to my home, if I can decide that I want to go to, I don't live in LA, but if I want to go to LA for the weekend, I can fly there. And my company, and I know a lot of other companies in the industry do this too, you can alt travel. So you can use the amount of money it would cost for you to normally get home and apply that to going on a trip elsewhere. In situations where my flight has been more expensive, so LA is a good example because it's across the country from where my client currently is. If the flight is $100 more, I then will pay the difference. There are also situations where if you decide to stay where you are, so I had a friend who was on a project in New York and didn't want to go back home for the weekend, so he ended up staying in the city and then allocating what that flight would have been there and back that weekend to his hotel stay. So once you exceed that threshold of what's like budgeted for you, there is a certain level of cost that you'll be expending that you wouldn't have to spend if you decided to just go home. How do I get started in the line of consultancy other than PMP? You don't have to have a specific, you don't have to have studied a specific thing in school. I have friends who have studied journalism, English majors, history majors, psychology majors, like all different types of higher educational backgrounds, all different types of degrees, and they are consultants. So it's really just kind of more so getting yourself into the frame of thought to think like a consultant. And that can mean different things, because if you are at a boutique firm that only does healthcare consulting, you may not need to think like someone who does human capital consulting at a bigger firm. Or if you do very targeted government work, you may not need to think like someone who is a marketing consultant. So figure out, and I've said this before, figure out what type of consulting you want to do, and then learn what you need to do. Reach out to people, network to see what are the skill sets that are required or highly encouraged for the role that you want. Being a PMP, to kind of circle back to that part of the question, for those of you who don't know, it is a project management professional, and you do not have to be a PMP. I'm not a PMP. You can get that certification. Some companies will pay for it, but it is not required. Hours a week. Oh, this is again the hours a week. Would you say that you work a lot? For the past few months, I've grown a deep interest in consulting, specifically healthcare consulting. I'm pursuing my healthcare management master's degree this fall, and I'm excited to explore this career. My only worry is that getting my foot in the door will be difficult because I do not have consulting experience at all. What is your advice about how to get started in consulting? Know what type of consulting you want to do. If this person is getting their master's, and so if you are in your master's, or even if you're an undergrad and you decide I want to do consulting, set yourself up to know why it is you want to do consulting, to tell the story, and to make sure that you have the skill sets to be a successful consultant. What I did was join specific organizations that helped me learn how to case. So not all cases are going to be the same, and I'll rewind for a second. Casing is part of the interview process for many consulting firms, where you'll have a behavioral interview where you come in, dive into asking you questions about how you act in certain situations, therefore behavior, your behavioral interview questions, and you'll answer that. It's like, tell me a time when you showed leadership, and then you'll tell them about a time that you did. And then there's a separate part of the interview process, which sometimes will be carried out by the same person, sometimes you'll move into another room and a different person will give you this part of the interview, but that will be a case interview. Case interviews are very different depending on the type of company, if it's more of a qualitative role or a quantitative role as well. So that's probably a different video for a different time. If you want me to do either a video on behavioral interviews and how to prepare for them, things that you should be doing, or how to answer these types of questions. And let me know. And if you want to know more about case interviews and how to practice and prep for case interviews, then let me know in the comments. That's how we'll do it. A like for behavioral, comments for case interviews. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna pick your company and you're gonna say, oh, these people do entertainment consulting, for example, and I really want to do that type. I've now networked with people from this company. I've done informational interviews with them and found that this really does seem like a right fit. I know how I've already practiced for my behavioral questions that I have with all my other interviews, and I know that for them, they actually maybe don't even case. Or if they do case, it's not a quantitative case. It's going to be more qualitative and strategic thinking. How do you feel about your team dynamic? So, that's a pretty broad question. Not always with the same team. So, I've had great teams. I've had less great teams. But overall, I've never had a team where I felt like I didn't walk away having learned something. And I think that that's the biggest part, is to know that you're going to go into an experience, and no matter whether or not you like or dislike people, it's always a growing opportunity. How do you maintain relationships while on the road? So I'll answer this in two parts, because I'm not actually sure like what type of relationships people mean, and I'm now realizing I probably didn't fully answer one of the first questions, how do I still have time for family and friends? When you come back on the weekend, for me, I do my best, other than that one project where I was working 6-7 days a week going on for a couple of months. I come back, and when I land on a Thursday, I do not open my laptop unless I know something has to get done. Like, the biggest struggle for me is not so much that I'm traveling, it's that when I come back, I get really tired, and so like I'm naturally a little bit more of a homebody. So the biggest thing for me is making plans and staying committed to those plans. I plan my weekends out kind of in advance, which actually then makes me really enjoy the weekends where I have nothing planned and I can just, you know, veg out a little bit. But when something or someone is important to you, you will make time for them. So be it family, which is very important to me, and any of you are noticing the different setup that we have going on today. I'm actually back at my parents' house right now. And friends, like I live with 5 other consultants who are my friends, and we're all kind of just doing our own different thing. But we know that we care about each other. We come together when we can and we hang out. For my friends who are not consultants, that is something that I've learned over time, that I really have to be intentional in reaching out, setting up time, and letting them know when I am around, because people aren't mind readers. And if I'm, you know, all traveling all the time and going to different states or different countries, they don't know when I'm around. So like for me, it's been kind of like having that, just like making the people who I know are priorities to me, reaching out to them, setting up plans with them, having fun with them, and keeping that relationship going, because it's a two-way street. And so you gotta like put an energy to something that you want to work. You meant like with romantic relationships, again, I think the same principle applies. When something or someone is important to you, you make time for it. So not for everyone. I can definitely say that there are people who are not comfortable dating someone who is gone 60 to 70% of the time. So our last question today is, if you didn't become a consultant, what would you be? This is kind of a harder question for me, just because I don't know. Like, I don't know what I would be if I wasn't a consultant, which is probably a good thing. Maybe I chose the right career path, at least for this stage of my life. I really enjoy being a consultant. I don't know if I would be one the way that I am now forever. I probably could do consulting forever, but things would have to shift. Like, I would want to eventually move into a role where I'm local, for various reasons. A consultant, and I could be anything, and I didn't have to worry about like affording my lifestyle, or I didn't have to worry about getting injured. I would probably be a stunt driver. I've always thought that that would be really cool. I love driving. I have a lead foot, a need for speed. And so that's probably what I would do. I'd be a stunt driver. So that brings us to the end of the Q&A portion of this video. Please keep watching to see the New York vlog and just get firsthand witness to what it was like, the pace of life going there, being sent out for 2 days for an emergency meeting, and then what I ate, where I went, and all that kind of jazz. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and let me know if you have any more questions in the comments below. I will gladly answer them at a quicker clip. If you want to know more and see my life on the day-to-day, follow Emmy Eats. I'll put it over here for what I'm eating, where I am. On Tuesdays, I spill the tea about things that I've noticed in corporate America, as well as just general life. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Keep watching. After a long day and many delays, I have finally made it to New York. I'm staying at the W in Union Square. So far it's nice. I actually have never been to this hotel before, so looking forward to checking it out. The only concerning thing so far is the wailing from down the hall, but let's hope that everyone's okay. It's been a really long day, and I've been going nonstop since about 7 in the morning, which isn't too bad, but your girl's hungry and ready to kind of settle in for the night. But because I have a tendency to not trust hotel food, I will be making my way back outside into the busy New York streets for dinner. But before I do that, I know it's been a long time since I've spoken with you guys, so let me just do the rounds, and then the rest of this vlog will just continue. I am in my room. She said this was an upgraded room. It's like not a full-on suite, but it's nice. Here we have the bathroom. I don't want to step in it with my super dirty shoes, but bathroom, shower situation, toilet, and then back over on this side, got a nice wall mirror, which if you have a wall mirror you love at home, please let me know where you got it because I'm in need of one of those. Bed area, chair, which I'll probably end up actually using since I'm vlogging this trip, and then likely where I'll end up putting my suitcase. I always put my suitcase out in the open. I'm not one of those people who fully unpacks. Like if you're one of those people as well. Otherwise, I'm super inspired by those of you who can fully unpack and then remember to take your stuff home. TV, definitely will probably getting some use tomorrow. And hotel-y things. Let's see what the view looks like. All in all, I'm trying to get this glare out. I'd call this a decent-ish view in New York. I don't see anything like super cool, or maybe I am and I just don't know it. With that, I'm going to head out, get food, come back, try to go to bed early because I have quite a long day ahead of me. So let's go. Hey guys, so I ran out really quickly and got myself some dinner from a French restaurant bistro down the street. I just got the ratatouille because I actually saw that movie last week at my hotel in Virginia, and I was like, I've never actually eaten ratatouille, so let me give that a shot. And then I also got the steak frites because you can't go wrong with steak, and you can definitely never go wrong with fries. So I'm gonna check both of those out now, then probably look at my email, get ready for the day ahead tomorrow, and hopefully turn in early. Getting up bright and early, I hydrated for the morning and started to pack up all of my stuff to make sure that I had exactly what I needed for the long work day ahead. In New York, I don't get a rental car just because there's madness on the streets, so I wanted to make sure I had everything with me before I started my walk out to plan what I was getting for breakfast on the way to the office. Just got into the office, so vlogging is gonna have to wait, obviously, during the work day, but I stopped at Irving Farms and picked up their hibiscus tea along with a blueberry crumble donut for my breakfast. Walked past a couple other cute coffee shops and bakeries on my way today, so I'll probably check those out tomorrow. And one thing to know about their hibiscus tea, I really like it. It is a little bit sweet. They have some sepia in it. But yeah, so I will talk to you all on the flip side. Lunch from Sugarfish was great, and there wasn't really much to film between then and after work when I met up with my friend Sasha. From there, I went to dinner at ABCV, which I had been to before in New York, and let me tell you, the food is really good, and I recommend checking it out, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan and looking for more options. However, I was not pleased by the service I had this time around. Ducking out to grab some tea for me and coffee for one of my teammates, I grabbed breakfast at Daily Provisions on my final day in New York City, and they had a great croissant type donut that I enjoyed. Headed to the office and lost audio on this part, but it was basically me just saying how excited I was that some girls decided to compliment me on my skin, and I'm really trying to step up my skincare on the road. Later after work, I headed to LaGuardia, where I found out, of course, my flight was delayed, so I decided to take some time and get different work I needed to get done in advance of the weekend.